Jack, I'm going to airdrop you a link. You ask for the good, the pod, the ugly. It's what you want.
Thank you.
It's what every white boy off the lake wants.
That's cinema, baby.
I really don't know if we're going to get any sociopath Tom Cruise, which is my favorite Tom Cruise.
No, Mr. Wilson. I don't have to take that kind of talk from anyone.
That's right, you don't. How about going outside and trying to kick me around?
I'm not supposed to fight with the guests, Mr. Wilson.
I'm not a guest tonight, you yellow bastard. I happen to be an intruder.
Hello, and welcome to The Good, the Pod, and the Ugly. I am your host, Ryan, and this is a podcast where we normally talk about the filmographies of significant directors or actors. But today we're doing something a little different. We are in the middle of our one-by-ones, where each of our three regular co-hosts, each of our three each of our three regular co-hosts have selected one movie they love, and our guest co-host, Jack, has also picked one. So we will be looking at all of those consecutively, and today we are looking at Risky Business.
My name really isn't Ralph. It's Thomas.
My name also isn't Ralph. It is Ken.
My name also isn't Ralph, it's Jack.
That's sad, no Ralphs.
Yeah, well,
No Ralph on here.
Ryan, let's just start off, and you tell us why, out of all the movies and all of creation that we haven't talked about before, that you picked this one.
Yes, I picked Risky Business, primarily because I think it is, it's not really a forgotten masterpiece or anything, but it seems to be low in people's memories, not very often thought of or recalled right now. My parents were teenagers when they had me, so they were very young when this movie came out. I was 4, and they loved it. They watched it in the theater, and then they rented it a couple times. And I was always aware of it, and aware in particular of Rebecca De Mornay. And then, of course, the boxers, the tighty-whities dance scene, the lip syncing to old time rock and roll is probably, I mean, I don't know if it's more iconic than something in Top Gun, but it's the one thing from the 80s that I feel like everybody knows that scene. Everybody knew who Tom Cruise was because of that scene. Mm-hmm. That was like the scene that launched him into super celebrity. So I hadn't seen it in many, many years. And last year I rented it and was really surprised that despite its dicey subject matter, it's still a fucking amazing movie. And it handles that dicey subject matter perhaps better than almost any movie since, maybe a Nora. And you guys had never seen it, is that right?
I saw it back in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Having not been born, this is my first time watching.
Yeah.
Jack?
This was also my first viewing.
Okay.
But in 1983, even though I wasn't born yet, there was, I guess, Valley Girl and Rumblefish, even though we didn't cover either of those Nick Cage films. Rumblefish, I guess, would have been right after Outsiders, which I guess leads us to Cruise at some level. The Twilight Zone, the movie, we didn't cover, but we did cover Sudden Impact.
Yeah.
Woo! Silkwood.
Yeah.
Is that a good one?
What is that?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that was during our Nichols.
Meryl Streep, Mike Nichols, Cher.
Oh, is that the one where
Silkwood shower?
Cancer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I meant to watch Silkwood during the pandemic, and instead I watched Coma because I thought they were the same movie, but I will tell you, they are not.
Wow.
Very insightful.
That's very insightful.
That's the kind of stuff you could expect from our podcast.
Yeah.
And then also with some parallels to, or I guess some crossover to today's movie, The Keep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Michael Mann.
Yeah.
Prostitutes.
Tangerine Dream.
Tangerine Dream. Oh, I thought it was okay.
And then if the name Paul Brickman is familiar to you, it's because he's one of the 3 writers credited on True Crime.
That's right, Speed Zoo.
I was going to ask about that. Is there any forensic evidence in the script for True Crime that he was involved?
The prostitutes.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
So Risky Business comes out in 1983, and it's following right on the heels of Fast Times at Ridgemont High in 82, which I think kicked off this more realistic version of teen movies after the slashers, and I think some of the Porky stuff came out before this. But Fast Times was considered a very realistic movie at the time and was a huge hit, so it makes sense that this would follow along afterwards. The writer-director Paul Brickman was raised in Highland Park, Chicago. I had a girlfriend from there, and I can tell you that these folks are very accurate representations.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just in the...
Tell us more about your ex-girlfriend.
They tell you they're from Chicago, but the difference, it's like Detroit if you've ever been around there. The difference between the suburbs and Chicago is like night and day. It's like living in the middle of living in the suburbs feel like you're in the biggest city in a very rural state. And then you cross the river and all of a sudden you're in a major metropolitan area that's buzzing full of life. But these kids live 30 to 45 minutes outside of Chicago and have a very different, experience of the world than people who live there.
Oh, I know what you're talking about because I've seen Adventures of Babysitting.
Yes. Chicago is a racist nightmare trying to kill your children. These kids didn't have that problem. So Brickman gets some work coming out of college, working on the Bad News Bears in Breaking Training. That's not the one where they go to Japan. I can't remember. I've seen.
That's where they go to. That's where they go to the Houston Astrodome.
Okay, yeah. I can't. Those are some movies that I've always loved from childhood. You could put on Breaking Training today, and as embarrassing as it would be, I would love it. Then, so he made Breaking Training. He co-wrote that. He also wrote a 77 movie called Handle with Care, and then he started chopping the Risky Business script. And
Handle with Care was also CB, right? Or something like that?
CB?
I think it had a different release title.
Oh, yes. Citizens Band.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Jonathan Demme movie.
Yeah.
I had never even heard of that one.
Interesting.
And then, so he writes Risky Business. It becomes a hot script. All the major young actors in Hollywood debut for the Tom Cruise role, including a lot of his, the kids who were on The Outsiders and Rumblefish. And most of the bigger stars turn it down. He gets it. It's a huge hit, costs $6 million to make and makes 10 times that amount. Brickman writes one other script that gets produced in the same year, Deal of the Century. And then...
Yeah! Hell yeah!
Oh, man, I haven't seen that one since the early 80s.
Gregory Hines!
Yeah.
Chevy Chase!
You have a remarkably encyclopedic knowledge of really bad 80s movies for a Zoomer.
Yeah, I thought this was one of the ones that we had seen as a backyard... movie night.
As a pandemic movie night, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this definitely could have made the list, and directed by William Friedkin?
Yeah.
Oh,
Freaky Bill.
Directing Chevy Chase? That just seems so bizarre.
The Sorcerer also had Tangerine Dream in it.
Yes. They were at their hottest right now. And then, Risky Business comes out, is a huge hit. Paul Brickman freaks out once he becomes super popular, and as he puts it, every agent in Hollywood is banging down his door to make the next movie. So in hindsight, he realizes he freaked out, but in the moment, he cited what I consider to be very small change to the ending as a reason to never make a movie again. So he left Hollywood, he moved back to Illinois, and didn't make another film until 1990's Men Don't Leave, which was not successful. He ended up co-writing True Crime. He got through John Avenett, the same producer who helped him out who worked with him on Risky Business. And then with John Avenett, he also wrote a TV miniseries in 2001. And then he made a short film in 2012 and passed.
What was the miniseries he wrote?
It's called Uprising.
A
Holocaust drama. I remember. I didn't watch this one, but I remember it when it came out. NBC Holocaust film. Avnet is also a really wild guy because I think he just passed recently, actually. But he's a co-producer on the Avatar movies, and he was Bruce Springsteen's manager.
Wow.
So he somehow Springsteen led to Cameron, and then he became this entertainment monolith, managing the biggest rock star in the 80s and making some of the biggest films of the last 35
That's
years.
interesting because David Geffen, this is his second movie that he produced, is Risky Business.
Yeah. At first I was like, oh shit, do I hate David Geffen when he gets involved with movies, because of the only thing I knew about Risky Business, aside from things I just picked up through osmosis, was what you've told me, Ryan, which is inaccurate, that Brickman never made another film after this one.
Well, basically,
and I was like, oh, okay, that was because they had the falling out about the ending, which on the commentary for the 25th, I guess, movie anniversary, you can get that from the Multnomah County Library of Risky Business.
Shout out.
He repeatedly harps on that ending and the difference between it. And so I was like, oh man, did Geffen just fuck him over? Because I know that Geffen's first movie was with Townsend, right? Robert Townsend?
Personal Best. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And Townsend sued him over something in it for like millions and millions of dollars because it was such a flop or something happened. I was like, oh, does Geffen just come in and mess things up? Is he part of that triumvirate of evil called DreamWorks? And is that really the story here? But no, whenever you turn back around and you go back to Geffen for your 1990 film, an adaptation of like a French film, that doesn't seem to be the case. So, I guess my understanding of Brickman was a little bit different after I learned that.
Yeah. Geffen famously said he wanted to cast someone in the lead role that he wanted to fuck.
Wow.
So he's like kind of the OG Bryan Singer.
Yeah, that's wild.
Wow.
And just to come out and say it.
He didn't mean it like he was well, I mean, okay, never mind. Let's move on.
Risky Business. What did you guys think?
Well, no, we're not there. We're not at Ryan.
Okay.
We're
this is your first.
We're not 15 minutes in yet, Ryan.
Okay.
Whoa.
We had to pad it out.
Okay.
Yeah. How about personal best? Let's talk about that for a while. Somehow it had a $15 million budget, even though Risky Business I think had a 6 or an 8.
6, yeah.
And it's basically just girls running around a track for 90 minutes. How did that cost $15 million?
Well, I got Muriel Hemingway. She was coming. This is her film after her big film that we talked about already on this podcast. Do we all remember what that was? Mad Hatter.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you guys do some Woody Allen.
We did.
Wow.
So back when, she was a 17-year-old.
Wait, we talked about Manhattan. What did we pair that with, Thomas? Can you remind us?
We didn't pair that with anything. We didn't pair that with another counseled star by the name of Roseanne Barr for She Devil with the Street season, her counseled co-host or counseled co-stars.
The good, the hot, and the cringe.
Ooh, I like that.
New offshoot for a Bryan Singer series, Thomas.
So, Personal Best. That's a movie where the U.S. boycotting the Moscow Olympics is a plot point. So I can't remember. Was that also a plot point in the Michael Mann television film where he's running? It's not Jacob's Ladder. What is it? Ezekiel's Horn. What is it?
Jericho's Mile.
Jericho Mile.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that about nuclear war? It's about running?
No, it's about running. A prisoner who runs.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
No.
He does kind of look like Jesus.
But I guess was that also a plot point in that? Because I know Iron Claw, like one of the brothers, can't go to the Olympics. I think because of the U.S. boycott.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about personal best?
Is this Thomas? Do you not? Are you just avoiding talking about the picture because it hits too close?
Yes. Whenever I was a boy in the 80s, living and on the North Coast, is that what they call that? North Shore. Yeah. I had a little bit of a run in, and then I said, "Fuck it," and I ended up going to Illinois State.
Looks like state.
No, I didn't go to Illinois State, but Hayward Field, where you have Oregon, go Ducks, is where Personal Best was shot. Some of its running scenes.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Can we talk about She Devil?
Let's not talk about Risky Business.
Wait. Okay, here's a bridge to go to Risky Business. Risky Business has 2 cinematographers. One of them was uncredited on the film Personal Best.
Okay.
And it wasn't Surtees.
That's right. It has a double credit for the cinematographers, which is Bruce Surtees, our guy.
Yeah.
Our Eastwood guy. And I forget the other gentleman's name.
Ronaldo Villalobos.
Did you discover anything? Because I Googled every version of why were there 2 cinematographers on Risky Business to find out why. Because Surtees was pretty well established at this point, and so was the other cinematographer.
Villalobos.
Yeah. Did you find out why there was 2?
I listened to the audio track. I saw the making of the movie, the 30-minute making of the movie. I saw the screen test that they did for the 2 stars and did not come up with why. But it sounded like there's a lot of second unit going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the only thing I could think is that I don't know if it sounded like they may have been shooting in parallel at times.
Mm-hmm.
That just seems kind of crazy to me.
I wonder.
I don't know if one was mainly for the handheld and the other one was for just the tone. But I mean, you look at the difference between the 2 of them. I mean, one of them seems to be a comedy style lenser.
Yeah, I wonder. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, I'm just filibustering here. I got that Cory Booker energy. I'm going to just go for 25, 26 maybe. Who knows? However many hours.
Well, didn't Brickman, he didn't want this to look like a comedy, and it's intentionally lit like a drama.
Yeah, it's very.
And yeah, I mean, he actually name drops The Conformist.
Oh, really?
Oh, fascinating.
Or The Conversation, one of those con movies. I don't know. But anyway, he was like, why
Star
can't
Trek 2?
Why can't a movie like a teen movie, why can't it feel and look like a real movie?
That's
basically.
that's one of the best things about it, in my opinion.
And it's really one of the things that makes it kind of stand out 40 some odd years later is how it just looks like. I hate to say real movie because they're all real movies if they're shot on film. If they're shot on digital, fuck off. But if you're transferred to film after digital, But it doesn't have the high key light, broadly lit, comedy look that a lot of movies still have today.
Yeah, very much so. I wonder.
Is this the third Surtees film that we covered just this season? Because it would have been High Plains Drifter.
Yeah.
This
Honky Tonk Man, right?
And Honky Tonk Man, yeah.
Surtees season. Woo.
Well, Surtees also shot a movie called Bad Boys, but it's not the one with Joey Pants in it.
No, that's the one with Sean Penn, who is good friends with Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah. From
being in Taps.
That makes sense.
Which is not a Gregory Hines movie, Thomas.
I know. I was getting excited. They made 2 of them?
I bet that Surtees might have been brought in to do the car chases and particularly the Porsche stunt, which they could only do once. So if it went wrong, there was a threat of bankrupting the movie. So maybe they brought in a sure hand.
It was an expensive car, that is for sure.
Is it really pronounced Porsche?
Yeah, yeah. Because you've only heard Porsche.
I've only heard Porsche until I watched this movie.
No, Porsche is the 80s slang, shortening by an
Interesting.
They said, what's the joke in License to Drive? One of the choreos says, I've never seen a Mercedes fit in the trunk of a Porsche. Because one of the girls is named Mercedes and passes out and they put her in the trunk.
All right, so
I didn't write it though. That's the movie License to Drive.
Does anyone have a 1-sentence summary of Risky Business?
Suburban kids' parents go out of town for the weekend. He decides he's actually pressured by a friend to get a call girl, which he eventually does, and then his life turns upside down until his parents.
Full of wacky hijinks.
Becoming a pimp for dummies. How's that?
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that is very good.
That's better.
This has a pretty we could talk about the music when we get to reactions, because I think it goes a long way. The Tangerine Dream and then the contemporary score.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought before we jumped into maybe going scene by scene for the next 2 or 3 hours, this is a lot of actors' first films, first credited films, including Bronson, not Charles Bronson, but Bronson Pinchot, known from Perfect Strangers, Beverly Hills Cop. No, a decent amount of
Beverly Hills
things.
Cop 2.
He's in Beverly Hills Cop 3 as well.
He's in True Romance. Remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like after seeing this again, I feel like he was a really misused actor in the 80s. I think he is so good in this role. Yeah, and he's good as the Balki and that sort of stuff, but he's really good as just a straight actor as well.
I loved him as, I guess, queer-coded actor in Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
Instead of just being a straight actor. But he he does most of the script, hearing the commentary was what was on. I'm sorry, most of this film was exactly what was on the page, line for line. And he was one of the few actors that they gave a little bit of leeway
license.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
I was curious about that, because there are a few funny things he says that do feel like they're improv.
Well, apparently, whenever all the clown call of prostitutes comes through the front door, and he keeps trying to shut the door, thinking that they're done, that was all like his idea, and some of the lines there are his as well.
He has the most casually teenage of all these. I think all the performances are really spectacular, but he just feels like someone who's honestly acting like a teenager in every moment that he's in the movie.
Well, did you read about what they did? Thomas, did you read what Tom Cruise's regimen was for this movie? So he looked like a teenager?
Wild, huh?
I'm sorry, who?
Tom Cruise, the star of the movie.
Oh, shit. I didn't realize who that was. I was so starstruck by Bronson and Curtis Armstrong.
Rebecca De Mornay, Joey Pants.
Pants. Oh, and let's not, I mean, his first film was Thief, so let's not skip over that. But the first prostitute who shows up at the house is, and they chose him because of how tall he is, which probably speaks to something you're interested in, Ken, is Bruce Young. So he was in the movie Thief prior, but that dude in '83 started up something in Chicago, one of the theaters there. It's an improv theater performance with Dungeons and Dragons bass, like as a bassist.
Wow.
And he'd bring people up on stage.
I love it.
And then he would later star in, this is where I kind of wanted to just sideline a little bit, the never fully released but crowdsourced Star Trek Renegades.
What is Star Trek Renegades?
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God, Thomas! No.
So in addition to Cop Rock, which we should talk about Cop Rock for a while, because that's one of the best television shows in the '90s. There was
it's here, man. Don't forget, I have the edit button.
Okay, Star Trek Renegades was a crowdsourced late teens Star Trek series or movie that the fans wanted to get off the ground. And then after the lawsuit that happened with Anazar, a previous film that had been crowdsourced that was sued to hell by the big studios, and those who owned the rights, basically got shelved. Yeah. But it would have had Chekhov as like an admiral, and Commander Tuvok has to put together a secret force of basically criminals to go figure out what's happening in this weird kind of time vortex that's happening. The dilithium crystals are being like disappeared, and Edward Furlong's in it as well.
And this is related to Risky Business. How?
Yeah, so I thought it was very clear, because Bruce Young, the first prosecutor who shows up, who gives the line that I used to start off the episode, is also in Star Trek Renegades.
Very good.
So Tom Cruise worked out, got pretty cut, and then they told him to totally stop working out and eat a bunch of fatty foods. So it gave him a layer of baby fat over what was just muscle beforehand to actually make him look younger than what he was, 20, 21, 22, about Jack's age. made him look a little more like a teenager. And there are some scenes where he does look remarkably young. He pulls it off.
Yeah,
he pulls it off pretty well.
I thought he was a teenager when making the movie, just watching it before looking and seeing how old he is, because he looks the most baby-faced of all of the teen characters, and that's sort of fitting for his role. But it's really good, and he's still got the fucked up teeth and the unibrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best Tom Cruise. It's the best timeline Tom Cruise.
He looks younger here than he did in Taps, which was a year or two earlier. Because he's like pretty cut in Taps. He's like all military.
Yeah, and he's one of the leaders in that one, right?
He's the bad guy. He's the guy that shoots people from a window. Oh, spoilers for Taps. Never mind.
Yeah, that's another thing about the Cruise performance is it just is so clear how he has become less and less vulnerable on screen the more and more famous he's got. And like, that was obviously one of his real selling points in this movie, is he's so, it's just a great performance, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
It's weird to think that Curtis Armstrong was 30 playing a teenager in this. Curtis Armstrong being Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah.
And he was the secretary's boyfriend in Moonlighting.
Yeah, he had a pretty great 80s with the Nerds movies were big, Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer, Moonlighting, and then one of the best motion pictures ever made, How I Got Into College, Seek It Out. Strong recommend.
Oh, okay.
Wow. I guess you guys haven't seen that one. It's a fucking awful movie.
I thought that was the movie we were talking about. Isn't that the subtitle of Risky Business?
Basically, that is a much worse version of this movie, actually, now that I think about it. No prostitutes.
And the visitor from Princeton is played by Richard Macer.
Yes.
Who is one of my all-time favorite late 70s, early 80s character actors.
He's just got an iconic look for this.
He does. He's great. Yeah.
Your boy Curtis Armstrong, Thomas, confirmed in his biography that Tom Cruise is very straight and was not only Stuppen De Mornay on the movie, but she got mad at him because he had a line of teenage girls at the hotel room door waiting to give him blowjobs, apparently, once they found out that he was filming in Chicago.
You said schlupping?
Stupping, you know?
Stupping.
You got to stup it.
Rebecca De Mornay was in a relationship with Harry Dean Stanton.
Yes!
At the time.
Yes!
Daddy issues,
so
man.
Tom Cruise was stupping Harry Dean Stanton's girlfriend. So yeah, he has to be straight.
Literally, whenever
pulling that shit off.
Stanton would visit the set, and whenever he wasn't there, Tom was in De Mornay's room. So,
damn.
Yeah.
Well, they do have a lot of chemistry in this film.
Yeah. Yeah, this is was this movie too hot for you, Zoomers?
Well,
I know that Zoomers don't like the nudes.
Yeah, I don't really need the sex on screen. De Mornay, can we just talk about her role in Stephen King's The Shining?
No, absolutely not.
A little while.
No, we're going to talk about Risky Business.
What is Stephen King's The Shining, and how does it differ from Stanley Kubrick's?
He wrote the script. It was a miniseries on ABC.
Wings.
The Shrubs Come to Life. Wings was in it as the dad. And he blows it up like in the book, but it's a CGI explosion. Yeah. There, that's The Shining. And she plays Shelley Duvall.
Thank you.
You know, if we did every episode that quickly, Kent, we could do a lot more movies.
Good,
yeah. Just like with Herzog warming up Kinski to do a calm take by getting him really mad. We'll get you really mad with 30 minutes of talking about what isn't the movie this week. And then you can just do that for the movie. And the podcast is over. That's the only part we record.
That's a great bit.
All right, so Risky Business.
Wait. It wasn't Joey Pants' first film. He had done a horror movie before this and a few other things. But I think it's really important to say that, like Aronofsky had to do with Mickey Rourke and taking off the sunglasses when we were shooting The Wrestler, your director boy here had to keep taking toothpicks out of Joey Pants' mouth. Because every time he turned around, there was another toothpick in his mouth. Now, it's not a magic trick. No, he's not allowed to. He's like, just don't do it without the toothpick. Just do it without
so he
the
can't
toothpick.
even. He's a real toothpick guy. I mean, I feel like we lost something there.
Well,
his name is Guido.
Yeah.
And I realized that we also covered him. I thought we'd cover him even more, but yeah, Jerry Pendolino, Memento, and Daredevil.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is this the first time you guys have seen Joey Pantoliano's with hair?
He had a wig in Sopranos.
Oh, that's true.
It's Ralphie.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he had hair or not in Running Scared.
The titles of this film, it's interesting where they have the actors and then it's followed up by the editor, Richard Chew, which is unusual. And sometime in the 90s, all the various guilds would arrange it with studios at where certain tasks on a movie are allowed to be shown, like in what order. So it was intentional to put Chew at the very forefront. It's like Tom Cruise, Rebecca De Mornay, and then edited by Richard Chew. It's unusual sequencing of credits. But he and is it Brickman or Brinkman? Brickman.
Yeah.
They did a lot of collaboration on this, particularly the sex scene on the train. And in fact, the associate editor who had a room adjoining to Chew's was listening to Tangerine Dream all the time. And Brickman had them they usually have temp music when they're editing a movie. They decided to swap it with Tangerine Dream. They liked it so much, that's how Tangerine Dream got roped into doing the soundtrack. They actually went to Germany and had them record the actual soundtrack, which is great.
Oh, wow.
I think the full story there is that they commissioned them, and then Tangerine Dream turned in a soundtrack that was too much like a comedy. And
interesting.
Yeah, Brickman and the producer went to, I think one time they said London, but Tangerine Dream's out of Germany. The second time they said Germany, and had him re-record it over like 4 days, sitting with them to get the tone that they wanted.
Because when they were listening to the music with the temp score, it was for like Tangerine Dream's their regular serious music.
Yeah.
And then Tangerine Dream, you see the movie without the music, and I can see Tangerine Dream thinking, oh, well, we need some, glockenspiels in here or whatever the hell they did. And you could see that then they're like, well, no, we wanted like the real Tangerine Dream feel that we had.
Yeah, it would have been very confusing, particularly for, I imagine the English, the language difference didn't help, because this is a very American film, American tone through and through. Chew may have gotten the big billing too, because it looks like he did Star Wars and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and The Conversation. So he was probably a really big get for this movie. And it's a time,
I mean, and as we'll get into whenever we get reactions, I think it's a very well edited movie. That skip frame printing is what you're talking about, that the effect on the train.
Yeah.
Oh, so I watched this on a perfectly legitimate streaming service that I pay good money for. And it would, like, every 15 minutes there would be an ad, but it couldn't load the ad, so the screen would just go black for 5 seconds. And so I wasn't sure if some of that was because how shitty the site was, or if there were intentional. I think there's a freeze frame at one point. Is that true? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Well, the opening credits were actually shot for the original version of the train sequence. It was shot for a blue screen that they were going to have in the background of the train. A blue screen, for you Zoomers, is what they used to use before a green screen. Blue is a color that they used in the 80s.
And the green screen was the thing they used before the volume, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so now I understand, because I don't watch a lot of sex in movies, what pulling a train means.
Uh-huh.
So that's
exactly what this means.
Okay.
You didn't see that in the Woody Allen or Bryan Singer retrospectives you did?
Or the end of North by Northwest?
Wow.
That's probably really funny, but I haven't seen it. So
yeah. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Ken. There was something about a green screen or a blue screen or something.
Oh, the original Sex on the Train sequence was they had to rework it a lot. I mean, this is like the big set piece of the movie.
Yeah. It's the climax.
Whoa!
And a lot of it is attributed to Chew and how he thought it needed to be paced, and then they had to do some reshoots, and then they added some tension after the fact, which may have led to a different cinematographer. Like all the characters on the train weren't in the original shoot, the original script. So they built it out quite a bit to make it the scene it is. It's an amazing sequence. It's hard to imagine it with an empty train with a green screen in the background.
I can see that. One of the cool things about this movie, in my opinion, is that it flirts with surrealism but never tips over. And I could see that scene with like a real surreal bent,
Yeah.
Well, it's like 9 to 5, the movie with Dolly Parton and some of my girlfriends. Also shot. What? I'm not doing. I'm not leading us down another rabbit hole. I swear. Villa Lobez shot 9 to 5, and there's that great dream sequence in that. And so I think that some of these dream sequences might be why you get somebody like him to lens your film.
Yeah, and a lot of that, the editing of that original dream sequence, I mean, that's carried out through other portions of the film, particularly with the train sequence.
Yeah, there's at least 2 dream sequences in this, right?
Yeah.
The opening narration, and then the scare that leads him to call for the prostitute.
Okay, so when I edit this will probably be 30 minutes into the podcast, but we've been recording for 40 minutes.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta say, what the fuck?
I want to hear reactions, particularly to the 2 Zoomers.
Yeah.
Jack.
Yeah, this was really great because the only thing I knew about this is the underwear dance lip sync scene. That's the only thing I knew about this entire movie. So watching it blind, I was like,
how'd you do that? Just listen to
it. Going into it blind, going into it not privy to some of the details of the film, I was really, really surprised by this. And it's almost like, it really reminded me, I think Heathers wouldn't exist without this movie. And a lot of
John Hughes.
Yeah.
Shit, I was looking at the filmography of John Hughes, and like 16 Candles and Breakfast Club all came out 2 years after this movie. And particularly like Ferris Bueller's Day Off almost plays like a comedic one-day version of this movie, even down to the dad's car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How influenced was John Hughes by this film?
Yeah, so with that in mind, the tonal shift that this movie takes and the direction it goes was really shocking to me, because I felt like it almost turned into like a Paul Schrader movie.
Yeah.
And I was expecting Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
And yeah, once it starts getting, and then there's a car chase, I was like, what the hell is this? What am I watching? And it's like the surreal Tangerine Dream score. It was very surprising to me, and I thought it was fucking great.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I appreciate in films is when they teach you how to watch them. And I, having not seen it, I knew about, everybody I think knows the underwear dance scene, and then I knew the car goes into the lake. I might have caught like a making of or something on television at some point. But those are the only 2 things I knew about the film, and of course the poster. And I think with the poster, the one I whenever I see it, it's only the glasses. It's not also the woman on the hood of the car. I can't remember. But so I thought it was a comedy, but it also seemed really serious. And the title also made it seem kind of serious.
Interesting.
So when I started watching, I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know if this is a comedy at all. Because the comedic parts on it just tonally, they don't go for whatever that original Tangerine Dream score was with glockenspiels, according to Ken, which I just learned recently. Shout out to my friend Stefan. Are bells?
Yes,
it's just like, it just sounds funnier than what it really is, I guess.
I know it's funnier in theory than in practice. The glockenspiel.
Lots of German words are.
So I was, very pleasantly surprised by the tone and the comedy and that delicate, fine balance that the film is able to walk between those 2.
And Tom Cruise, you can totally see how he came away from this as a huge star, because he just has so much charisma. And then I was like, I really don't know if we're going to get any sociopath Tom Cruise, which is my favorite Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But in the third act, when he starts pimping, he puts the sunglasses on, and he's smoking cigarettes. It's like, wow, this guy's. And then when he kicks the drunk guy off the train, That was the moment that I laughed at, and then I was like, but that's so sad. So yeah, he's amazing in this, and he just has something in his eye. It's like, I think it's because he doesn't have a soul. That's probably why he's so charismatic. Because he has to be.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow,
Well,
this is
yeah.
the second time this season that you have tried to start a fight with Tom Cruise.
I mean, it'd be great promo for the show and his upcoming film, so I don't see why he can't come on and fight Jack. Very beauty bowl of you, Jack.
All I'd have to do is pick him up and hold him, and he'd be swinging at me.
Does John Hughes even have a career if Brickman makes another movie? Like,
oh, that's what I
Does
forgot
Cameron
to say.
Crowe have a career if Brickman makes me? Because Say Anything is almost like Cameron Crowe's is Risky Business. In a
and
lot
that's
of
in
ways.
Chicago too. Wow.
Yeah, but they made another Chicago. Fuck.
Obviously, you're not caught up in the Marvel movies, Ken. Sorry about it.
Does Mike Nichols have a career? Because how is he going to make The Graduate if he hasn't seen this film? You guys have seen the movie The Graduate, right?
Yeah.
Ryan, I have a question about Brickman and the script for Risky Business. When did he originally write it? Because so many of the themes seem right, almost like a canary in the coal mine. If this movie's made in 1982, we were still in a recession, but it really taps into a lot of the avaristic, capitalistic greed that would drive the rest of the decade. And it's a really super early version of that. And I'm really impressed by everything in this movie, but how early it is.
Yeah, I honestly, Brickman is very elusive online to find information out about. So I just understand that he wrote it after getting to Hollywood. So making the Bad News Bears in the late 70s, presumably in 77 or 78. Around there.
Okay, so it's like something was in the air and he just got it out first.
Yeah, he was talking about this process of going out to a cabin. And I do think that it was just right before they got it produced, because I think they put it together as a package for him to direct.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Oh, because you watched the behind the scenes stuff.
I did some research, yeah.
My DVD didn't have any BTS stuff. It was just the movie.
Oh, you didn't have the Blu-ray? I
had the Blu-ray,
You have a Blu-ray, and did you not have the Criterion Collection Blu-ray?
I did not have the Criterion, no. Somebody rented it for Movie Madness.
Oh, well, I thought maybe your spouse loved you, and whenever they were getting you Criterion Collection, they would have thought, oh, this is one of my husband's favorite films.
It's a recent rediscovery on my part. So
okay.
Plus, I got the
also a recent Criterion release
series. So
you could almost imagine Tom Cruise playing the same character instead of Charlie Sheen 4 years later in Wall Street, and it would kind of track, theme wise and character wise.
Yeah, Brickman calls that out as something in the air and being very similar in theme.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that he says, and I haven't seen this film, a little bit before my time. But he says to Cruise, because it's the three of them, the producer, the director, and the star, he says to him, watching Jerry Maguire, is that just a grown-up version of your character here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys could talk about that a little bit. I have not seen Jerry Maguire, so...
Oh, yes, it is. You can definitely see a relationship he has...
Yeah.
Charisma and the desperation are both very big. Those are the two poles of Jerry It is from a character beat, the exact same movie. You're right. It's just the same guy 30 years later. 20.
Well, you could also say it's John Cusack's character and Say Anything 20 years later as well.
Huh.
I mean, they're all very closely entwined.
Yeah. There is I don't know if it's an intentional reference on Bret Easton Ellis's part, but there's a scene early in Risky Business where Cruise and all of his high school friends are sitting around eating lunch and talking about what they're going to do after high school. And they all talk about how much money they want to make and their types of careers they want to pursue. And Cruise says, doesn't anybody want to help humanity? And somebody asks him, well, what are you going to do? And he says, serve my fellow mankind, which is just the best awkward phrase. But that scene repeats almost verbatim in American Psycho when Christian Bale, Patrick Bateman, and all of his stockbroker friends are sitting around at a very fancy dinner place, and Bateman asks them, don't they want to help feed the Africans and save the whales and do all of the good things? And then they all laugh in the exact same way at the idea of helping anyone. So
that goes back to Christian Bale getting his inspiration for Patrick Bateman after seeing Tom Cruise.
That's right.
David Letterman.
Yeah.
Wow. That makes sense. He does have that Cruise energy.
Wow, it all comes together. Man,
Yeah.
this is galaxy brain shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. This is the second week in a row where we've covered a movie that has a comic strip connection.
Mm-hmm.
This one also has a connection to me.
Huh?
Say more.
No, it's Broomhilda. You guys know Broomhilda, the comic strip with the witch, the green witch with the wart on her nose, has a bunch of wacky pals.
I remember it, but I never read it or anything.
Well, it began the same year I began in 1970,
Mm-hmm.
and during the 70s, it had a couple tries at an animated series, and it didn't happen. They came out, it wasn't popular, etc. In the early 80s, they tried again, and they got so far as to get 13 episodes produced. It was in some comic book ads for NBC's Saturday morning cavalcade. But the creator, Russell Myers, not the Russ Myers who shares two big interests with me. Independent features and independent film distribution, Jack. Shut up. So June Featherson, who did a lot of classic animated voices, actually did Broomhilda's voice. But Russell Myers was part of a human potential offshoot cult called the Precepts of Human Dynamics. And it was run by a Spanish former psychiatrist named Samuel Forrester. And it was a movement that combined like the human potential stuff with meditation and then a really hardcore Christian isolationist belief.
Wow.
And not having any pop culture, no music. I couldn't listen to music till I was 18.
What?
So Myers moved up to Southern Oregon. That's where my dad moved up. That's why we moved up to Southern Oregon. We were part of the group. Some call it a cult, but Forrester said, I'm not a cult leader, so it couldn't have been, right?
Yeah, possible.
Anyway, so the psychiatrist in Forrester, he talked about Scientology a lot, hated it. And Myers picked up on it and introduced a character. It was just a brief run of the strip in 85. And this would be when they were making Top Gun. And it was like a cousin he was called Risque, first of all. And the character in Broomhilda was just eyeballs and a mouth, called Grebler. He was kind of like the sarcastic one that would always insult people. So this character was like a cousin to Grebler. Risque was just like, instead of the eyes, it was like Wayfarer sunglasses. And then he had a big grin, and then he had a flop of black hair, just like Tom Cruise. And he came on the strip, and he had this new religion he was trying to preach to them. And it really made fun of Scientology. It ended up with them going up to a volcano, the volcano god in Scientology. And Broomhilda like shoves Risque into the volcano. It turns out she wasn't brainwashed the entire time. And, that's it. Not a big deal, but the people who ran Scientology at the time, it wasn't
Miscavige?
It wasn't Miscavige at this point. It was Vicky and Richard Asnerin.
Okay.
They sued United Features, who distributed Broomhilda for it. And the lawsuit never went anywhere, but they agreed not to put it in any future collections of Broomhilda.
Wow.
So it gets even worse because Paramount was the production company for the Broomhilda animated show. Jerry Bruckheimer, the Azaraz, what are they called? Asnerans? Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Simpson, Tom Cruise, they all kind of get together. They pull the plug on the series. It never happened.
Wow.
They memory hold it.
That's wild. For a cartoon.
So that was kind of the end of the story until 1988. I was 17, and I was at a social gathering, a very well monitored social gathering of the cult. And in the Applegate Valley in Southern Oregon, very beautiful location. The ranch is sitting up before a small lake and a river. And I met Myers' daughter, Samantha, and we kind of hit it off, and we exchanged phone numbers. She told her dad that at the time I was a cartoonist. I went to art school. I don't know if you guys know this. I went to art school to become a cartoonist.
No, I did not.
Yeah, he called and said, stop with my daughter just because you're looking for some kind of status with me. And I was not allowed to see her ever again.
Wow.
That was that. And that was the last I heard of Myers until early 2001. I was working for egghead.com.
Shout
out. I was in government sales. It was a great job till the .com bubble burst, and then it was not a job anymore. It didn't exist. So he called me up. He had been going through the webpage, and my name was on it.
Wait, the cartoonist Myers called you up?
He called me up. He got my number through my dad, who still knew people through the movement.
Yeah.
And he was asking, he wanted to draw mascots for the website. It was kind of sad. Broomhilda had fallen on hard times. And I was like, well, I appreciate the call. How you doing? But I don't really have any sway with the design part of the website. I can't really help you. I could maybe look up for some email addresses for who does it up in Seattle. And that was that. And that was the last I heard of Russell Myers until last night when I had her knock on my door, and it was Russell Myers. He's like 83 now. And he wanted to know if I was still interested in his daughter. I was like, she's 52 now. And he says, yeah, but she's never been married. And I said, I appreciate the offer, but I'm happily married. And that was the last I heard of Russell Myers until a minute ago. He walked into the podcast recording studio, and he's standing right behind Jack and I, and he has a few words to say about Scientology.
Mr. Myers, the floor is yours. I see the remainder of my 25 hours to use for.
End scene.
Okay.
I'm glad that you were able to take that one from start to finish, Ken, with Ryan on mic.
Can't wait to hear next week about the time you fought a kangaroo and
met Hugo Weaving in a restaurant. I don't know.
So this movie was compared a lot to The Graduate. And can you mention some of the things going on in the 70s? But for those maybe unaware, there was a gas shortage, a gas embargo, a depression, not a depression, but a massive recession. That was a depression in some cities like New York City. And over 50% of adults at this time, when surveyed, admitted to using multiple drugs, smoking weed and taking pills and doing coke. So grown-up America in the 70s is fucking shambles. And you can see how kids raised, similar to what is supposedly going on with the Zoomers now, you can see how someone raised in such an unstable environment would come out of that thinking, like, I just need to make all the money I can so I can be safe from all this bullshit and just have a good time.
So I would tie that into the his original ending and the ending they chose.
Yeah, what was that like? What's the deal with that? What's going on here?
So did Ryan and Thomas, you both had the DVD or Blu-ray, so did you both watch the two different endings?
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
I have not, so can you walk us through it?
Everything's the same up until the two of them having the dinner with the skyline behind them. So that would be the crew. I don't have the characters' names in front of me. I know his name's Good Son?
Joel.
And the strong female character
Lana.
/ prostitute.
Yeah.
Lana. Okay, yeah. Lana and Joel are having dinner. Same scene. The difference is that there's no them walking around afterwards. And correct me here, Ryan, but Lana says something about like the future's a little scary or just like uncertain. And she shows a little bit of vulnerability, which you don't see pretty much without the film. And Joel has this confidence, this riz, as we like to say.
Thank you.
I'm just, I had to have some representation here for us, right? And says something like, come over here, and has her come sit on his lap and tells her it's going to be all right. But you get the same cross-cutting with the future entrepreneurs of America, where that organization is, talking about how much they sold. And he still says that same line about, isn't life grand?
Mm-hmm. No, it's different.
Oh, is it that? Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the, that's the only, so in the original, I can't remember the phrase now. In the original, he says a phrase that is said earlier in the movie.
What the fuck?
My name is Joel Goodson. I deal in human fulfillment. I grossed over $8,000 in one night. Time of your life, huh, kid?
Yes. So it changes, which is what Joey Pantoliano says to him earlier. It's time of your life, huh, kid.
Yeah.
So isn't life grand? And then it's fascinating you talking about the Riz, Thomas, because I interpret it more as being almost exactly like The Graduate, like that they're both, he asks her to come over to comfort her, and she sits on his lap like a child, but then they both look very uncertain and very afraid is how I took it. But it's a very ambiguous ending.
It is an ambiguous ending, and I take it similar to like he is now and I don't mean this in like a cool way or a way of like gangster rap, but he is a pimp now.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is ready to go to business school and to exploit people as need be, and maybe even her continually.
Well, as the Princeton guy said, we need guys like Joel at Princeton, and it's not because of his academic prowess. It's because he can get the ladies for the faculty, right?
When the subtle thing with the line change particularly in Cruz's reading of it, I took this as like a horror story for both of them. Like this is what adulthood is like, and it's so much worse than they could have imagined. But that is a very there's nothing in the movie that suggests that Thomas is wrong and I'm right or anything like that. It's very ambiguous.
No, that actually tracks, because the ending as it is almost sweet in a way.
Yeah,
they're walking in the park,
and that was Guffin.
They're bantering.
Yeah, the other ending sounds much better.
Asking for it.
It doesn't sound like it would make 10 times its budget just from that little change. But it almost lets him off the hook, I guess, of not being corrupted, because the ending is just kind of sweet and they're like boyfriend and girlfriend.
For me, I think it works better, the theatrical, because I feel like all of the anxiety and stuff is in there. And I do like the idea of them having a moment of happiness, because they still talk about how they're going to separate and, they're not going to be a couple or anything. So I just like that moment of sweetness for the characters, but I don't know that it's better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in combination with a few other of the battles that the writer-director was having. So Brickman talks about that the poster originally was supposed to be a cartoon Joel in bed with girls all around him with money like raining down.
Oh.
And he's like, fuck that. And so he went off and had it like commissioned his own person to do it. And that had what we see now with Tom Cruise with the shades down a little bit, but he's winking. And so then the third iteration was what we know today of the movie poster, which is tonally correct. But I think he had a lot of fights like that for trying to keep the tone that he wanted, while test audiences in the studio, Geffen, wanted to make it more like a comedy that we would see, that like a Porky's, closer to a Porky's.
Yeah.
But the original title was White Boys on the Lake.
Yeah, such a good title. not a movie that makes 10 times its budget, but what an all-time title that would have been.
Wow.
Going back to the first prostitute that shows up. And
I got some research.
The fine line that it walks, where it's not seen. We're not supposed to be ha-haing about it.
Yes.
It's like a misunderstanding, almost. Maybe not a misunderstanding. Maybe it's something that the prostitute does on a regular basis. But it walks that fine line of not being, what's the word? I'm like, crass or coarse.
Yeah.
The whole thing to me is amazing how I think it dodges that all the time. And it's really a very nuanced thing when you consider that they're dealing with a sex comedy where a teenage rich boy hires prostitutes to fuck all his friends.
But when a black dude dressed as a woman shows up at the door, I'm like, I like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, I had the same
eventually clenched. I really clenched up. Like this is going to not have dated well, but it's good. I think it's dated quite well.
It's good, and interestingly, like the reveal of it is, I think, probably where I clinched, right? Because like they show maybe the shoes or something walking up to the door, and you have the reversal, and then you have something like maybe have a cut to like Tom Cruise looking in, or you just have the camera comes up with Tom Cruise looking through the porthole. That's a little bit like the mask that he'll be wearing later, the catcher's mask when he puts his guard down. And then you get finally, it's a black dude, cis male dude dressed as a woman. And so from there, whatever happens immediately after that is going to say like, okay, how is this going to be played? And it's Tom Cruise like getting scared, and then prostitute holding their own, saying like, "Hey, can I come in and you paid for something? Can I come in and use the phone?" And it's just, and I think just both of their reactions to it are very respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it even, I mean, he has a lot of class anxiety just about letting not only a prostitute, but a black guy into his house. It seems like he seems very worried about what's going to happen. And then the black guy is the most normal person in the world. Like, it's just such a great bit of writing. And Cruise looks foolish for his awkwardness. It's not at all, there's no humor at throughout the film at any of the prostitutes' expense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
And then that's, for me, this is like maybe the best coming of age movie. And it just feels very timeless. And the way sex is handled, like I can't think of any Hollywood movie since that is both really hot and also very practical and realistic with its characters. And not when he and De Mornay are together, it's two teenagers having sex because they think that's what it looks like in a movie. Like it feels like a intentional performance on their part. It doesn't feel like we're just seeing the absolute hottest it could be. I don't know. Maybe that's me though.
No, speaking of realism, there's no way he got the smell out of that house after all those guys and prostitutes banging for an entire night.
Yes,
and smoking cigarettes.
And smoking, zero chance.
I like some of the economy in the film, just using the crystal, using the stereo, having like it's a very small film in some ways. The train set with the train that goes on, like it seems like they almost want to implode on itself at times with just how limited some of the themes are. The car, I think that what's interesting is how it doesn't like if they had a slightly different editing, slightly different score. Maybe one of the other takes from some of the shooting, it would be a very different film and it'd be a very broad comedy. Almost like they shot two films. They're like, okay, Surtees, we're going to use you over here. We're going to use Villalobos. I'm sorry. I forget the other directors. Villalobos on this other one. And then like they show one to the studio and one they keep for themselves for the editing room. Because any moment they could have really jumped off and gone the wrong direction. And like the humor, like some of the visual gags in it, like I mentioned, the clown car prostitutes walking through the door, that does play to humor, as does a lot of like how just the juxtaposition of Cruise against some very still unmoving people, with him being very animated throughout it. There's just not, it doesn't go into comedy territory. Like the same year as this, a similar film thematically is Dr. Detroit. The classic. You guys know? I thought I would get like immediate recognition.
I've heard of this one, but I've never seen
Dan
it.
Aykroyd plays like a robot pimp. He's a speed walker. He's like a professional speed walker who somehow gets mixed up, and he becomes these call girls, high class call girls, pimp.
This poster is incredible.
It is a great poster.
Let's see.
Which one are you looking at? Is it the one where he's like photoshopped in with the yellow coat?
Yeah, he's holding a rotisserie chicken.
What?
He's flying in on a chair.
What?
Really?
Wait, what?
Oh wait,
Yeah.
no, I see that one. He's holding a rapier with a chicken on it.
Yeah.
That's not okay. I found that one while we were talking.
He plays a character named Clifford Skridlow.
/ Dr. Detroit. Brad
That's
Dresser's
funny.
in it. Yeah,
I'm
It's
so
before-
excited to
it's
watch
before-
this.
Yeah, this movie looks incredible.
It is trash. It is absolute trash.
Probably the funniest gag in the movie is when he takes the car out for the first time and the garage door opens and the Tangerine Dream music is really kind of cool and dramatic and it's like vroom vroom and then it backs up and then the music drops just as it stalls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a few seconds later the music starts back up and the car starts back up. So you could have had a completely different score for that and it would be, you know, really lead paint humor as Thomas would say. But as it works, it's an amazing gag and it works with the seriousness of the score.
Yeah,
it makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
So Tom Cruise didn't know how to drive a stick shift very well. And so that stalling out was one of those happy accidents that happened in the film. It's a mistake they kept in.
Oh, that's funny.
I think
That's
Sean
awesome.
Penn's in the car with him as the double for Balki or whoever he's supposed to be taking with him. But the other ones that are all accidents are whenever and he does this twice, but whenever the Goodson character runs up to get into the school and goes to the middle door and tries to open it and it's locked and has to go to the side one, that was an accident. And so they kept that in as they go through all their other takes, and they do it again whenever he has to go meet with the nurse because he has it originally with it being late for the exam, the second time for the nurse.
Right.
But the biggest one probably is that line delivery whenever he's with the admissions advisor, and he rises up in the frame and he has his glasses on and he says, "Looks like it's the University of Illinois." And he smiles, and then he gets even bigger in his smile.
And then it gets even bigger.
The line. He felt like he fucked up the line, and he was just like, it kept rolling, and so he was just like, "I'm just gonna go bigger." And it's so fucking amazing.
It's a great. It's,
Oh,
it's
really?
one of the great shots
Wow.
of the movie. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
that was the best shot in the entire movie.
Hilarious.
And so there's something about Brickman with this where it's he's able to find those accidents and keep them and double down on them for the comedy, but also in keeping with the tone.
Wow,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about how so much of it is the editing and the music and stuff, but it's just a real shitty loss that he didn't make more movies. And sadly, I read a piece with him in Salon before he passed, and he was very regretful that he did not take advantage of what was given to him at this time.
Yeah, it's a rare thing to be handed to write and direct a movie like this, and then everybody want you to do that. Whatever you want to do next, you can do. Yeah, as he went on, because probably he thought, well, this is going to keep happening. It's like you go to the Super Bowl your rookie year, and you go, I'll go back.
I can relate.
Like Dan, Dan
missed-
Marino goes to Super Bowl a second year, gets blown out 49. It's like, it's okay, Dan. You'll go a bunch more.
Wait,
Never
the
even got
star
close.
from Ace Ventura?
Yeah.
Okay,
He was-
pretty sure we're talking about the same person. He was a football player at some point.
No, but it's yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, he I mean, we talked about the struggles he had making the picture, but when you look at any other movie that gets made in Hollywood, like these are very minor things. He lost 15 seconds of his movie and it had a poster he didn't like. I'm sure there was other things to your point, Thomas, but you know, if you talked to Spielberg at this time or anything, like this is stuff that everybody would have had to fight through to make their first movies. And for him to get such an artful movie through on his first, it should have, a lot of other directors would have seen it as like a phenomenal success and just they become the most arrogant dudes in Hollywood for the next decade, you know?
Okay.
I've got a trig midterm tomorrow, so
okay.
we better wrap this
I
up.
did want to add one more thing. One more thing.
Columbo.
Very good. The teenage movie genre, the transition from high school to adulthood is there's been a million movies about them. It's interesting. This movie made by a baby boomer about very the very front end of Gen X graduating from high school, going into college in the 80s. To me, and I could be wrong, it feels like movies about this era in a teenager's life are period pieces, and they're made. The person who wrote or directed them is writing from their own personal experiences. I'm talking about like the Edge of 17, Lady Bird, the Jonah Hill movie, the 90s.
Oh, that's a good
All those movies are really personal experiences, and there aren't a lot that really tap into what it's like today.
Right.
So I just thought that was interesting that movies about kids these days are usually they're looking back by the creator, and they're not like talking about today. That was my point.
Yeah.
Because kids today, as Thomas and Jack can attest, terrible.
Yeah.
Well, this was still the broad appeal time in Hollywood where we hadn't yet cordoned off every type of person into somebody who only enjoys a certain type of film.
Yeah.
And I would say you could even say that this whole film is sort of about broad appeal.
Yeah. Paying money for sex. I do one of my favorite sequences is Tom Cruise as the pimp going around asking people like, well, how much did you pay for that date?
Yeah.
And what happened?
Yeah, that was great.
And especially as he's asking these questions and it's his POV, and it's like it's that great thing of adolescence. It's happened to me recently, guys. I could talk about it. Where you have like the disparity between like maybe the freshman and the sophomore or the senior. Like the body is more like they're just two completely different phenotypes almost. Like one big dude, one small dude. And they're probably like 2 years apart in age. And so, he's asking him at the diner about how much they spent. And then it cuts to like at the gas station and all these other places. But you don't see him wearing the glasses. You have no idea what he looks like. You just hear his voice and you're just assuming he still kind of has that boyish look. And it cuts to him. And he looks like he is in a movie where he is Dr. Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan, thank you for picking this movie. This was awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad.
Yeah, we're
glad it hit.
Batting 1,000 with these.
Hey, I know. Look, Jack, I understand you want to take off. Okay, you okay? Do you want an aspirin? Your dad own a gun? No. But the music in this originally, it was cut. I think even to the audience, maybe even released with a soundtrack that had more blues in it. And one of the things that he compromised on, and actually says it was a good idea, was adding in the Talking Heads and Prince in place of some of that old man music.
Oh, okay, that makes
contemporary stuff.
Yeah, like live Talking Heads. I think that was pre Stop Making Sense.
Yeah, that's from the name of this band is the Talking Heads.
That's my favorite Talking Heads.
The best one,
actually.
It's the best one.
Thank
you.
My
least favorite. It's the worst one.
Fuck off. You don't know about Talking Heads.
I don't know anything about Talking Heads.
You'd like Talking Heads, Jack.
Is that an app? Ryan, thank you for this. This was great.
Yeah, as you said, they've all been good ones so far.
Yeah, and then next week we got my pick, Mystery Road.
Woo! Also a good one. Yeah.
I am doing a swan dive on this one. I am rewatching the series, both movies, not the prequel series, but
I need to watch the prequel series. I was thinking about watching that for this.
It's probably my favorite of the 3 seasons that they did.
Wow.
Writing wise.
Yeah.
I mean, Aaron Peterson can't replace him, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's next week, Mystery Road.
Yeah.
Thanks to Ryan for the theme song.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks to our sponsor this week, Star Trek Renegades.
Woo!
Yeah.
Available on YouTube, maybe, and definitely some.
If you don't mind wondering whether or not the blackness you see occasionally is just a scene deleted or an ad that didn't spin up.
Yeah, all right. We're gonna wrap the season up next week with Mystery Road.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Now you listen to me, you little fuck. You not only take my 2 best friends. If I didn't have any self-respect, it wouldn't just be the podcast, it'd be your arms, your legs, your head.
I can still record.
Oh yeah, we're still recording? Shit.
No, I could still record.
10-4, buddies. Destroy. Kill all hippies.
I don't hate it. I just don't know why you strayed from the formula.
You bastards! You don't know it, Bob. I'm an artist! And I must reflect that in my rhyme.
Columbo.
No.
The Good, the Pot, and the Cringe.
No. Becoming a Pimp for Dummies.
Columbo.
Oh.